You're alive.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Loud Conversations. It's been a long time, but don't ever feel like we forgot about you. We have not. We have been, contemplating when we want to come on, and we chose today because today is a special edition of Loud Conversations. We got some good things for you. We're going to recap some of the things that we brought to you. So first, we want to introduce everybody. Everybody knows that I'm Tyra, aka Ty Loud of Loud Conversations. And we have Nate Turner, we have Keyon Young, and we also have Chanae. Everybody knows who Chanae. She keeps it going. She keeps it going even when we are out doing other things. Um, Today we have a special edition for you. We're going to introduce to you a new North Central Florida People Power Coalition called Florida Forward. We're going to have a lot of information about that. We're going to show the people how they can be more empowered and controlling and making sure things happen in their community, in their state, in their county. So that's what we're going to bring to you today. We're going to start off with Chanae. She's going to give us a little bit more, information on what we're looking forward to tonight.
Hey everyone, I am back again. I want to apologize because I am multitasking. I am tuned in to the gun violence town hall that is being hosted by Commissioner Desmond Duncan Walker. There will be a time that I will mute because I am waiting in order to give comments. And we'll actually talk about that on tonight's stream in that particular issue. We wanted to bring you all together. We understand that we all take in information in a different way. There's a lot of things that are going to come up ahead of 2022. We need our people to be organized. We need to be activated. We need to know what our needs are. And we need to be able to move together as a unit. That means us as a people moving together as a unit, but also us being organized and moving together as it relates to our allies. We do have many allies that want to offer supports in a meaningful way, but because we're disorganized, it causes them to be ineffective in their support of our initiatives and our movements. We can continue to allow the initiatives that we do to be a moment, or we can ensure that we're a movement by understanding the importance of moving together and leveraging our particular power. So tonight, we each will just kind of introduce ourselves and some of the things very briefly that we've had going on. Some of it just like I had some self-care for the last few weeks. Then just kind of remind you, it was Tyra did what Loud Conversations was about. And then we just want to chat about some of the things that had occurred while we've been off the air. If there are any questions, anything that you want us to bring up and discuss, we ask that you actually post it in the chat so we can discuss some of those things. We're going to talk about the coalition, why it's important, and what that's going to be of benefit to us, and then talk about upcoming events and then how to get connected and how to stay connected.
All right, Nate, you make me want to go put my Loud Conversation shirt on.
Yeah, I had to rep. We back in action, you
Okay,
know.
okay.
So I definitely had to do it. Peace and love, everybody. It does feel good to be back. But we back like we never left. And obviously, everybody takes breaks for whatever reasons. But I don't think that any one of us has taken a break from, doing good work in the community, and just trying to do the necessary things to, be the best versions of ourselves. Me personally, just I've exhausted a lot of energy. Obviously, just living life, being a teacher, being a coach, coaching several sports, still running a nonprofit organization, just trying to stay active. I was blessed to join the Gainesville Board of Cultural Arts. So I sit on that board now, Cultural Arts and Affairs. So that's pretty cool, learning a lot about that. Um, just studying, continuing to study, continuing to read, continuing to keep my ear to the streets, really getting into just different sorts of investments, financial investments, really looking at blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. Nipsey Hussle was really adamant about that before he passed. And the more that I get into that, the more I get into him from that perspective, the more importance I see it. The more important I see it is for us to understand this new technology, right? Nipsey called it a form of karma. And for the longest time, I couldn't understand what he meant by that. And then I watched the entire clip. And when essentially what he was saying was, right, the financial institutions have created wealth off of the backs of those who they exploit, right? Black people, poor people. Capitalism has benefited from American racism, American white supremacy, but also classism. And essentially, what he was saying was, is because this new technology and this new form of currency is decentralized, it is I guess reissuing power, right? And reissuing the potential. So Chanae and I have been talking offline about this. I've been picking other people's brains about how I think that Gainesville, particularly the east side of Gainesville, black people in Gainesville can really benefit from this new technology. The University of Florida is now home of the world's largest and fastest supercomputer. They have a partnership with NVIDIA, who is leading the way in this blockchain technology. The professor of engineering at the University of Florida said that the University of Florida should be helping to lead the community in work in new age workforce skills. And so I think it's important that we look into this new technology, and it's also a form of social justice. So not just from a financial standpoint, but the way that we interact and deal with one another. So I've been on that a lot, and looking at how I can create personal wealth for myself, how I can create wealth for the community, right, and then how we can pool these resources together, right. So Ujama, cooperative economics is extremely important, and I think it goes hand in hand with all of the things that we discuss on this show, and the things that we're trying to accomplish, right. It's about empowerment. Took a step back just from a lot of things that were happening, just because honestly, like mentally, it was just a lot for me to deal with. I had to really just tune out and get my mind right. I'm still working on that. Picked up yoga and meditation a little bit more. Been a lot more consistent with that in the past year. Still praying, and just grinding. Faith without works is dead. So we working hard.
Mm-hmm. Well,
What's been up with
I
y'all?
have just right. So I have just been working in the affordable housing sector for the last last 4 years, or for the last 2 years. I have been doing a lot of research with affordable housing. That's kind of like my thing now. Affordable housing, we all know that it's a problem in Gainesville, Florida, with affordable housing. Since COVID, the rental market has gone up 15% across the board, and it is affecting Gainesville in a big way. But not only that, with affordable housing programs, how they work, with investment groups coming down to the South, buying affordable housing complexes, how is that affecting, how is that affecting the market now for people to be able to afford places to stay? So, my research and me, I've talked to Chanae a couple of times. Me and Chanae has touched bases on what's going on in Gainesville, because there are some things going on in Gainesville with affordable housing, behind the doors. And it's really not a good situation for people who are out here looking for places to stay. It doesn't matter if you have a Section 8 voucher or not. It's just not a good thing right now, across the board. So I'm looking for ways to keep people informed and educated about housing and what needs to be done and what they have to do, in order what we need to do as a collective to make sure that we preserve our Black communities and that we keep affordable housing in our communities, because we need places to live. So we know that if we allow for these things to come into our communities, we don't have anywhere, most of us don't have anywhere to go. So that's where all my efforts have been put in, not only in Alachua County, but in a different county also. Other than that, I got kind of with everything going on, especially with school board and elections, and just being hopeful a lot of times, and putting the work in and the energy and seeing different people working. I just got kind of a little burnt out, as I can say, a little burnt out. I had to regroup myself. Spiritually, I have, been on a spiritual voyage, and it has been wonderful. I do a lot of meditation. I have been doing a lot of self-care, just taking a step back and looking at myself on how I can be better and how I can help my community be better. So it's just me.
Yeah, that's good. And kind of to piggyback off what Nate said, like, as far as for myself, like you said, faith without works is kind of dead. And it's like, as a young man, like, we don't really notice that. You don't really learn that. Like it takes things through our life to show you that. Like, whereas, like, at the end of the day, like, I'm learning the biggest thing, like, what keep coming back for me, and like my mantra is like what's keeping me going now is like, you have to be the example you want to be, right? So at the end of the day, if you want to see change, then you have to be that change in order for it to start. So you got to be the catalyst to build on different things like that. So I'm just learning throughout the day of my process is like, at the end of the day, you got to make sure you straight first, so you can get to the point where you can build and make sure everybody else around you is doing the things and living in the way that you want to live. So it's like just growing out throughout that process. I'm young, and stepping on that. I've been on the police advisory council for the last going on year. It's been like sort of kind of going on with that. I feel like the community gotta like what I'm learning as I speak about it more and more, people still don't really even know it exists. So like I'm trying to get people to understand it exists, so we can get to the point to where when people feel different things, like people don't understand, people don't even know until I tell them like, hey, like if you have a problem, like say you run into it with law enforcement and something happened and you don't feel like the interaction went the way it went, you could actually bring that to the council, and it's something we could review and we could look over as a community, and then you could get our input on how we feel, and you can actually get where it's like it's not swept under the rug and nobody listen to it. Like we could bring it to the chief of police, and people don't really know they had the option available to them. So that's something I'm trying to spread and get people to understand that, hey, you can be involved, and it's something that what I'm saying, you can do. So stuff like that, just getting informed, staying educated, just learning more and more and more. Because just like what I'm learning is at the end of the day, we have to create the opportunities we want. Like at the end of the day, like we feel like, hey, doing all the other stuff, but at the end of the day, us as black people, we gonna have to create our own opportunities. So at the end of the day, we gotta be the ones foot on the ground, doing the work day by day, building it, because the opportunities ain't gonna build for themselves. Like that's what the other community, you see what they do. They all the other communities, everybody else, they build opportunities for themselves, and they take on within. So we gotta learn like that. That's the one thing black people have not done. We got to understand that we have to create our own opportunities and keep it going within, so you can get to the point of where we got wealth. Like you said, it was perfect thing with the cryptocurrency. It's perfect. Like people don't understand with that market. That's something we can get into now, where it's not heavily slurred towards white people or black people or anybody else. It's so mixed up in the market that if you slide in there now, we can get the money and get the wealth and build and generate the capital and stuff we need to do different things. So it's just, that's something we all need to be looking into. We all need to be looking into investing in, different things and showing the way. Like, but we got to be that example. It's like you say, you got to get into it. You got to do it so you can learn from it and you can be the example and show people what you want to do. So, that's just what I've been up to, and that's kind of the thing I've been harping on lately.
Think it live.
I apologize, y'all. So I have been on hold for 45 minutes in order to give comment on the gun violence town hall.
Thank you, Adrian.
I've heard them ask us if other people want to speak, and I've heard the moderator say no. So y'all know me, I'm definitely up for a challenge, and I'm gonna be real snide when it is my particular turn. So I sincerely apologize. What I would like is, I know that each person that's on our panel here kind of touched base and stated what we need to do, but literally the check-in is, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about the state of things since we last aired? And how are you feeling about proceeding forward before we even get into the meat of the coalition?
I'm feeling kind of confused a little bit. I think that's mostly what it is. I'm we've had this conversation before. I always thought that we should always, invest in our own candidates, and that way we know, have them mentored and groomed, and that way we know that they're ready and that they're going to push forth an agenda, that's for the people. I just been kind of confused, especially with the school board uh, and the city commission, and I watch the meetings while I'm at work. I listen, and I just don't know what to feel. It's like I'm overwhelmed, and my head is spinning, and it's like, I don't know what to feel. Sometimes I just be like, but there has been some things that I have been very proud about. I'm proud, that I see soldiers, with their foot on the ground, like you, Chanae, still out there pushing, and Miss Faye, and and others out there. So it makes me feel like, hope is still there. And I'm like, yeah, get me stirred up. But other than that, I just been kind of confused a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't like a lot of the things that are going on, and I don't like my choice of leaders that I have to pick.
Yeah, I agree with that, but see, that's what how I feel is kind of what I was saying, and that's what it step back on. At the end of the day, like that, this is what this is what the system was built on. Like at the end of the day, what we keep trying to fight with our hands tied behind our back. Like at the end of the day, us doing the same thing that's been happening the last. This been going on since civil rights era. We've been doing the same thing, fighting the same fight, trying to get the same thing done. Us going about it the way we going about it ain't gonna change nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I feel, and that's what I've been trying to get people to understand. We could do all the hooting and hollering and all the everything we want to do, but until we create our own opportunities, until we put our own destiny in our hands, as long as they can, as long as they got the power to sign and do whatever they want to do, that is what it is. You never gonna change that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to express to people that, man, if you look at history, this is my favorite subject in school. It's been repeating itself over and over and over and over again, man. The
Yep.
system is built on one thing. We already know what it is. So why do we keep trying to go to the same system that we know what it's built off of and expect it to change? It's not going to change. We have to change it. So in order for you to change that, you got to create your own opportunities. All the opportunities they got, they, even though it was off of corrupt ways and different things that we on, we ain't trying to get into, they created them opportunities, and that's their opportunities that they got. So in order for us to
Mhm.
do something, we got to make our own. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is, and we hate that. It might be unfair and it might not sound like, hey, we might not like it, but at the end of the day, in order to change it, that's what's gonna have to happen.
And that's what I said. Like, sometimes do we also have to be corrupt and underneath the rug and shady and sneaky, you know what I'm saying, to get whatever it is that we need? Because we know that this was how this was built. But bottom line, it's about power. And right now, they hold the power. So we have to figure out, how do we use our power that we have. And like Keyon said, I agree with you. It might be some things that we might not like that we got to do, but if we got to do it, then we, like Malcolm X said, by all means necessary, we got to do it.
Yeah, so I feel I don't know, like it's ebbs and flows for me, right? Because there's so much that's been happening, and I was discouraged for a minute, but I'm encouraged um because I see our response, where I see the people who I consider our true leaders, right? I see how they are responding to that adversity, and that encourages me, right? You know, uh, I feel very similar to Keyon, and obviously we got the same born that he reminds me so much of myself, like for real, because y'all know a lot of the times, right? Like when I participate in the American government system, it really is in support of people like Ty Loud and Shanae Jackson and Gail Johnson and Faye Witten, right? Because I feel like I owe that to you all because of the energy and passion that you put into the people in this part of the system. And you know, my uncle Donald, he always tried to convince me, you know, that this system can be a good system, and that's what makes America such an interesting place, right? Because when you look at documents like the Declaration of Independence, and you look at documents like the Constitution, on paper, they are right? I mean, except for the fact that we weren't even written in the Constitution originally, right? They debated about it in 1787 and decided, yo, we'll end it in 1808, but we ain't gonna talk about it, right? But what's interesting is that I also know when you have intelligent people, powerful people like the leaders that we just happen to have in the Black community in Gainesville, right? I know that it's possible to do the things that we talk about, right? Like it's really possible, right? Like, and then you got people that are actually doing the work. Because I'll be honest with y'all, without just kind of saying too much, I still consider it, right? So I have been really considering, running for office for a long time, and a lot of it was because I felt like people that I believe in believed in me, right? And so it was a little pressure, but it was also like an honorable thing, right? And I seriously considered it. And then when I saw what happened to Miss Diane, and I saw like what was going on, like just having some understanding of what Gail was dealing with, right? And then seeing her decision, right? And then I guess having, some insight, but not so much. And then to see the response, right? Like this is a real, like, excuse my French, like badass response by you all. And it's kind of cool to just know y'all, man, and to know that y'all are really working. And it's not just y'all, but like everybody that's behind it. And so, it makes me want to be better. Um, it makes me, understand y'all mission and want to be and want to be a part of that, right? So while I work to dismantle, like, because I really want to just dismantle the whole system, but I understand that there is a potential to upend it, right? And so, in that sense, whatever I can do to help, whatever energy I can offer, I'm gonna do that. I just damn, it's so difficult to trust these people, and it's so difficult to
But even
think.
off what you were speaking on with the dismantling the system, like that to me, I feel like what we gotta understand is this whole plan, all this stuff in place, man. You got Asian people that came here at one point, they weren't allowed even to be here, you know what I'm saying? But like look at what they built on today. But it's all on what they do together, you know what I'm saying? Like they gonna consolidate like us. To me, I just feel like, bro, black people, I don't understand it. Like if we get the black people that got money in Gainesville, instead of trying to be out west and do all the stuff out west with these people that's trying to develop out west, take all y'all black self, come out east, develop out east. Y'all make all this money out east. You build all these opportunities for your people out east, and then you got a whole section of town now that you can put your own politicians in, put your own senators, your own representatives, all your people. You got your own side of town, and you got your own money. You're not asking nobody for no. We don't need your money. We got all our stuff over here. We built our own thing. We got our own stuff going over here. Everything we built on our own. So we got to learn to get in the mindset of that. Like even they do it everywhere else. You got Chinatowns everywhere. You got a little hate. Like everybody do where they got their own little section and they build off of that. And I just feel like black people, we don't do it. Like where our section is supposed to be what we building off of, we don't, it ain't nothing there. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody do nothing like for it. And it's just like we was actually like I was looking at this thing where they keep talking about, how we want to talk about school to prison pipeline and the racism in schools and different things like that. When you break down all these schools, even look at Gainesville right now, why are they in the same city? But you go to Buchholz, you got funding, you got programs, you got all this stuff over here. One thing, but then you go right down, right to the other side of the city. You go to the east side, it ain't nothing. But it's because they put all the low poverty areas, they put all that stuff because the property taxes and stuff That's why East Side gonna be the way it is. All the houses over next to Buchholz, $300,000, $400,000 houses. Buchholz gonna always have money for programs and funding for stuff like that and different things they gotta do. Eastside gonna always have to ask and beg and plead and scrape together and still never be, you know what I'm saying, on the same thing. But we gotta understand, like, that's our job. Like, we have to do that. Like, that's on us.
So I
And
want to
I
I
interject.
think you what makes this situation so interesting, right, is Keyon, because I guess I I don't disagree. What how I would push back, and then I would say what makes our situation unique, right, is that oftentimes when Black people create coalitions, whether they be, sort of financial institutions, investment groups, we've created our own towns and cities, right? There are always people trying to destroy that, right? So whether you just look at the individual people, or right, we're talking about government sanctioned sort of violence against Black people, right? And these things have always occurred. Now, we don't also operate with the same mentality of unity that we did, right, when we created, you know, uh, Black Wall Street in Tulsa,
Stuff like that.
or you
Black
know,
Panther or something.
yeah, Mound Bayou, or places like this, right? Like, and there's always pushback, but in our situation, right, in Gainesville, in particularly, like, we have people who who have enough information and understanding and knowledge about the system, as well as, some pull, so to speak, to where we are in a unique situation to sort of make some real changes. But this is the challenge, because y'all got to understand, right? And I know y'all understand, but the world got to understand, right? Like, the devil is not many places where he sent his demons to work harder than North Central Florida, right? And so when you got people like the people that we have leading us, the good old boys and the powers that be, they gonna do everything, right, to stop us. Now, this is where I say, I play my part, because I don't think anything could stop us. So I don't want to miss out on history. I don't want to be like not a part of history and not do my part to bring about the things that Keyon is saying that we need to do here in Gainesville, because we have a legit opportunity to do that in Gainesville with the people that we're connected with and the people that are empowered to lead us right now. So in that sense, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't really fuck with the government, but I vibe with y'all and I understand the purpose. And so for that reason, I'm a
I knew
unite.
that was coming.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a unite. So I vote because, again, it is some power in it. I teach civics, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm sort of a walking oxymoron in a lot of this stuff, right? Like, you got the civics teacher who ain't necessarily standing for the pledge and all kind of stuff, but it is what it is, right? But I love y'all. I love my people, and I do see the unique opportunities that we have here. So, I'm gonna ride with y'all, and I'm gonna vote and, participate, in citizenship the way that I need to, because, again, there are also some things that I think that we, again, and this is right. Another thing, we ain't just, this is why I vibe with Chanae and y'all, because it ain't just like they ain't just saying vote, right? And, oh, your vote is gonna make the change, and just right. No, because, like, I talked to Chanae about, all right, Chanae, so what's the other plan to empower Black people, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the other plan to get Black people property? What's the other plan to make sure that Black people ain't getting beat across the head by the police? And there's always a conversation about that. If there's not an answer, we're pointing to somebody else who has those answers. So again, we are in a unique situation because we have people who are really talking the talk and walking the walk, and they got some sense, right? A lot of times you don't have all of that. You got some leaders who got the courage, but they might not necessarily have the sense, right? And they can get played by the powers that be. They fall for the okie doke. And it's fortunate that we in a situation where we got, real leadership and people who understand what's going on, and they really have a genuine mission to empower us. So I rock with y'all on that.
Yep. So I want to jump in. I apologize everybody for me not
Okay.
having
Go ahead.
full undivided attention. So I want to point out that I was sitting in on the town hall for gun violence that was hosted by Commissioner Duncan Walker. I'm often very clear that I don't like the town hall method because it literally still shuts out the voices that we actually need to hear. And that's extremely problematic. But I still show up in participants in that particular tables because I believe that we can't really call people to the carpet if we disengaged. Also, we can't change and have an inversion of power if we disengage. So we still have to show up to tables whether we're wanted at those tables or not. One of the things that happened is I called in, like many of the other callers, and waited in order to be able to give feedback or to be able to give a comment. One of the reasons that I always make sure that we make sure that things are on the record. I sat on hold for more than 50 minutes. I listened to Commissioner Duncan Walker ask the moderator multiple times were there other people on the line. I heard her say no, not to that particular issue. I never told her what my comment was. So for you to say no, that there was no callers on the line to speak to a panelist's particular comments, that was a lie. They went over because it was supposed to be an hour long, 20 minutes. Commissioner Duncan Walker asked a second time, or is there anybody on the line to be able to speak? And then the moderator said, oh, but now we're out of time. Well, my position is that if it went over 20 minutes, you could have went over 23 minutes. The reason that it was imperative to me to make sure that my comment was on record, and we're going to make sure that we address it here. And if I need to spice it out of here so that it's small and succinct, I'm happy to do that. We heard I'm always fussing about the same people at the table. I'm always very clear that law enforcement does not have the solutions to what's wrong in our community. If they did, they would actually have a handle on what the violence is. I'm very clear that it's our responsibility to hold them accountable and to hold our people capable for the change we want to see. Language is powerful. You know, I tell you all that often. One of the first questions that was asked is, or Chief Jones asked Under Sheriff DeCourcy, what are some of the solutions that Alachua County Sheriff's Office has? Under Sheriff's response was, we can't arrest community out of this. We can't arrest our way out of this for the community. We already know that. We're beating a dead horse. We've been saying that 20, 30 times. Then we heard other panelists say the kids are not listening, but nobody is talking about why. Then we heard multiple people talk about all of the programs that they have and all of the programs that are becoming available. No one's talking about barriers like transportation. No one's talking about lack of access. No one's talking about lack of cultural competency. No one is actually even talking about the fact that kids a lot of the programs that you're rolling out are not for the children who need it the most. And so these are things that I wanted to make as a part of the comment. Sharon Burney was a caller, I think was probably the most relevant with any of the comments that actually were in. And some of the things that she addressed is this is actually a systems issue. And it's about things that are deliberately going on in our community. So I want to drive it home here. GPD is governed by the city who's overseen by the city commission. So therefore, when we're having high incidences of violence and it's at a city level, we need to be looking at our city commission, not just at GPD. And what for that is, when you look at research shows that a lot of violence, it has to do with when you're looking at basic needs have not been met. One of the things that I often talk to people about is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the hierarchy of needs basically states that people have to get to certain levels in order to get to what's called self-actualization, which is being a viable member of the community. So I want to tell people what the hierarchy is, and I've gone over it before, but while we're here in this particular forum. So basically what it's stating is you have to meet certain needs before you get to the next level of needs that need to be met. So the most basic needs are what are physiological needs. That's food, water, warmth, and rest. So if you have kids that are bouncing from house to house, if you have kids that are homeless or people that are homeless, if you have people that are being cut off, if you have people that are struggling to put food on the table, then they become what's called disaffected, or they don't feel like they're a part of the community because the community doesn't make them feel a part of that. The next need that needs to be met is safety. And that's where you see your emotional security, your intellectual security. So often I hear people always say, it's the parents, it's the parents, it's the parents. A parent can't fully meet a child's emotional needs if they're still at level one, which is trying to put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. The next one is the third tier is love and belonging. That's when we talk about friendship. That's when we talk about a sense of connection. So this building block. If we don't have food, if we don't have water, if we don't have a place to stay, then we can't have emotional intelligence. We can't have intellectual security. So we start to struggle in school. But then we now can't even have the viable friendships and the true connections or sense of connections that we need. We don't even get to self-esteem until level 4. Level 4 is when we talk about respect, status, and recognition. And so I want to make sure that I drive home on what I'm about to say. And so these are things that I wanted to address in my comments at this town hall about what is missing. Then at the top is when you get to self-actualization, and that's achieving one's full potential. Most of us never get to self-actualization. There's many things I have accomplished. There's many things that you see me all do, and I myself have not gotten to self-actualization. And wanted to point this out because even as you heard everybody talk about they're really vested and what they wanted to do and how we come together as a community, there were some untruths that were told. One man said that when they were growing up, things weren't this way. That's a lie. That's a bold-faced lie. So I can trail back to what I've seen in my own family, all the way to my great grandmother and my grandfather who was out with other women. You get what I'm saying? And then they split up before I was even born. And that's my great grandmother. Then I can go to my grandmother who was a teen mom. Then I can go to my mom. And then even if I look at my dad's side, it was the same. When you go back and actually really learn history and different things like that, some of the things that were going on in our community once all of our land and things like that was taken from this is generational. And because we're not telling the truth, that some of this stuff is generational, we're not being able to acknowledge that these are systems issues that need to be dismantled. So he's one that I learned from as well. Our young people have disengaged because we're not telling the truth. We're not respectful of them. I think that they actually deserve respect, when literally respect is a need that has to be met in order for us to start listening to them. I want us to understand that our kids are not listening because we're hearing them, but we're not listening. One thing that Keyon talked about one time with me and some other mentors was the why. We often talk about we want kids to throw up gang signs. We often don't want rappers to be their role models, but nobody is actually talking to the children to find out why is it that the most heinous rappers are the role models. We're not talking about why kids are getting into gangs. And literally, it's the same reason that people join the KKK. There's no sense of identity. There's no sense of belonging. There is research that shows that you have to address the whole child. So I'm very concerned that Santa Fe and UF and this place and that place is programmed, but we've not collected any information on the youth that we need to impact. How are we rolling out programs? We're not asking the youth what programs it is that they need. Asking the youth what supports it is that they need. We're not asking them that. We keep talking about our youth as if they don't exist or as if they're not in the room. And so this is a comment I'm sure that was in that town hall. Also, town halls are not what used to be coming because it is the inverse of power. There's no real collaboration. The manner in which we should be coming up with solutions is by facilitated meetings where our outcomes that we're looking at, we're looking at measurable goals. And this is not just with gun violence. This is with any after school programming. This is with housing. This is with food insecurity. And these are the things that are happening. I wanted to make sure before we even talk about coalition, because many of us don't even know what it is we should be looking for. So when we hear a new program rolled out, we're like, oh, that's great. It's a new program, not realizing that it's a program that's doomed for failure. We're so excited that, oh, they're going to funnel money over here, not realizing that if the money's not properly allocated, it's of no benefit to us. So even like the city of Gainesville, they have a leadership development academy. Well, if our kids are already in trouble in school, how are we going to get leadership development with the city of Gainesville? Means when they fill out an application, they won't be eligible. So why is that one of the solutions when literally the house that's on fire is our kids are killing each other or our kids are seriously harming each other? One thing I've driven home, and I'm very frustrated, and I wanted to make sure that my comments were on the record because literally I facilitated a meeting and co-facilitated it with GPD 6 months ago after the American Legion shooting, that many of the points that I'm driving home now, I drove home then. I'm sick of law enforcement stating we want your ideals. I'm sick of stating that you want our ideas when you're going to do a few things. Number one, you're not going to utilize them anyway. So you just wanted to say and check off a box. I did listen. Number two, if you do attempt to implement them, you're going to try to do it without us. So it's always going to be wrong because there's no one size fits all. Black people are not a monolith. Communities are not monolithic. So why
Nope.
is it that they keep trying to produce programs within a vacuum? My charge to each of us is, as Nate stated, we do have a special opportunity ahead of us. Number one is our young people can't disengage, can't say, well, they don't want me at the table, so I'm not coming to the table. They can't even say, well, I'm just going to create my own table. There is a facet and an opportunity to create your own table, but you still got to go through the journey of sitting at their table first. So therefore, when you sit at their and you work and try to be collaborative for change, then you're able to utilize that to build capacity for the new table that you're trying to build. I am one, I use the acronym WAR, which is wisdom, architecture, and revolution. And wisdom, I'm always fussing about being educated. I'm always fussing about slowing down, getting the information that you need. I'm always fussing about asking questions because of that wisdom, you have nothing and you'll fall for anything. Architecture is not just about buildings, although we need buildings and we need land. Architecture is building our communities. That's building our relationships. That's building our sense of pride because it's been taken from us. That's building our sense of belonging. So architecture is so much bigger than that. That's building our own institutions. And I believe in revolution. Often we need to understand that the system is working in the manner in which it is designed. So there are some things about the system that we can actually fix and make better, but there are other aspects of the system that absolutely need to be crashed to the ground and dismantled. But we can't tear it all down if we don't have something viable put in place because it'll put us back to square one when it doesn't work. Me not be given the opportunity to be able to speak on that town hall speaks to exactly that. They're going to do everything that they can in order to minimize our voices. And that even if that's bullying, even if that's intimidation, even if that's demeaning our character. We know this. This is the big that it's been throughout history. The thing is, we have to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. It is the only way that we're going to know and understand how to move forward and how to change some of the outcomes. In Alachua County, we have a special opportunity because many people in the positions of power say all the right things. So literally, all we're having to do is make them accountable for their actions to match up with the things that they actually say. One of the ways to be effective in making them accountable is to what we're talking about. Many things are interconnected and interrelated. So as Nate states, I'm always fussing at us about politics. Many people who don't engage or don't are not involved don't understand how politics benefits them. And that's because politics has been what has been used to oppress you and hold you down. So helping people to understand every aspect of your life is political, from the food that you eat to the grocery store that is or is not in your community, to the cost of gas, to taxes, to home ownership, to healthcare, to education. Half the air you breathe, whether the air quality is clean or not, is political and
Water,
related to
water.
politics. And so it's one of those reasons that we engage, but we don't look at politics as people come in our neighborhood, they get our vote, and then they don't do. Showing up to the ballot box is the one place that we all have the same level of power. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It don't matter what job you at. It doesn't matter if you're homeless. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, purple, or green. When you show up to that ballot box, we have full power. Our issue is the manner in which we leverage our power is we have to show up together. Number one, at the ballot box, but then number two, when it comes to the issues and the things that are in our community, it is of no benefit to elect people to serve us if we don't help them to serve us. Because in order to create change, people have to be made to feel uncomfortable. And that's why law enforcement is one of the reasons that they don't have any of the solutions. They're not willing to be uncomfortable to find out what is the root cause of a lot of things that are going. They're not being they're not willing to be uncomfortable to understand, yes, we always did it this way, but this way is not right. We need to look at this thing differently. They're not willing to be uncomfortable and state that we keep looking at children as the problem and children and their parents as their responsibility to fix what's wrong in the community, not acknowledging that kids getting in trouble, kids stealing, suspensions, all speak to societal issues and to
Mhm.
disconnects within our community. Also, we as that part, we need to have a boldness about us. We have the greatest impact, we call it a sphere of influence in real estate, with the people that we are closest to. In our community, we will debate the dumbest stuff, but the stuff that really matters, we're very uncomfortable going to our sister, our mama, our cousin, our brother, and saying, hey, we're not doing this right. Hey, let me be deliberate and check on you and see what's going on. Hey, we need to work and do this together. We have been so busy with being dysfunctional as families and tearing each other down that we have an unwillingness to work together because our egos get in the way. We want to know who's going to get the credit. We want to know what, and even too, we all get the what's in it for me. And we're so busy with our own egos. And I want to be clear that when I state that, part of that is because typically when you come from nothing, all you have is respect. So people that's in positions of power don't know and understand why our kids are willing to die for respect because that's all they got. They don't have control often over any of their environment, or they're made to believe they don't have control. So the only thing that they can fight to protect is their respect. So if we understand that if we come to them in a proactive manner and we respect them, even if they're not respectful in the beginning, we have the opportunity to build trust and build a level of respect and get people to walk alongside us in order to be able to change the things that need to be changed. I we also to history, and Nate, you being a historian as well, is not taught properly. History keeps telling us that we got the changes that we did because of Rosa Parks and because of MLK and because of Malcolm X. That is not correct. So MLK and Malcolm X were vehicles, they were vessels. They were able to promote messaging and activate people to action. But what helped get the change is things like the Montgomery bus boycotts, is going out and getting people registered to vote and showing up to the ballot box, even when they're being hosed down and with the threat of being killed. It is standing together and fighting for us in our particular education. It is educating ourselves amongst ourselves when they wouldn't give us education in school. And because we have this improper teaching of history that keeps teaching us that white people saved us, that we keep looking for white people to save us. And there's a major hindrance with that. So as soon as it happens in our community, we are all in distress. We are all upset. We all want change. But our first thought is, what are they going to do instead of what we are going to do? And we have to reprogram that. One, and people will tell you I'm very deliberate. I don't just help you in a general sense. If you need me to show up with you, I will show up and walk along you. Said, I want you to take me showing up and walking beside you to pour that into other people. And that's a mathematical or scientific law. That is this community that we need to attain the things that Keyon is saying and they that. Also, we need to build trust. We are more critical of us in our own communities than we are of anyone else. So when someone in our community is trying to sell us something or trying to buy into something, we automatically approach it with a level of distrust. And ironically, often we go with the mantra that white is right, when literally history has proven that that absolutely is not the case. And so I want us to find a balance. So I don't want us to be victims because we're not victims. History has also shown us no matter what has been thrown at us, how strong we are because we have been able to sustain. Our issue is we're letting them tell our stories their particular way, and so we're spinning our wheels. So as we're trying to build infrastructure to develop affordable housing ourselves, what happens is the people that are working on those solutions are the same people that are trying to put out the fires. We're not going to get to our goal that particular way. We need now to have an infrastructure built where there's a group of us that's this affordable housing initiative. And that's the reason that community trust is so important and collective economics is so important. There should be a group of us that's helping us to learn and teach our history in a viable manner and learn to work together collectively. There should be a group of us that's working and advocating GRU policy. There should be a group of us that's working for our kids to be better educated, either that or create our own schools. And because we're not doing that, we all are working harder than we should have to be. And that's where things are problematic. Additionally, the old guard has to release their power or the power that they think that they have. It is time to train up, not even just me, a generation. It is time to equip them, and then it is time to trust them. So we keep saying we want the youth to come to the table, but what is it that we with? What is it that we've given them? What tools have we given them? What resources? I utilize the example of Raquel Lewis, which is the young man that told people his story. I didn't know him personally. There's a lot of people I don't know personally. It's a lot of meetings that I show up to with people. We don't even meet until I show up in the room with them and we meet at the meeting. But that's how much I believe in us. I need us to reprogram our minds. We state that we're not willing to help our kids that we consider to be gangbangers because their parents. we see a child who's now a young man that didn't have this, but is now doing all of the things right, while we still not stepping up to the table to support that. It us to look at, a lot of people say, well, oh, I don't have money. It's not what it's always about. In order to uplift our community, being deliberate to call and check in on people that you love and just being a listening ear really uplift our community. Volunteer. Time is money. Your skill, donating your skill. These are all the things that we need to utilize in our particular community. We need to stop that when there's a call to action, our allies are at the table ahead of us, and then we're also mad at them when they take over the narrative. They took over the narrative because we're not talking. They took over the narrative because we're not at the table. And I need people to who often talk to me. They say, I don't agree with everything that you say. You're not supposed to, but we should be able to come together with the things that we do agree upon in order to build a better level of structure and a better basis of community building for us. And we're not doing that. And that's the reason I wanted us to bring us together. And I apologize that all my stuff is long and all together, but for us to actually discuss that, because I want people to have other point of views, not just Shanae's point of view. I want people to go and research and study for themselves. I want people to reach out and ask questions so I can show them where I got particular information from. When you become engaged and when you become equipped, it's something we do that's called grounding. And that's how you develop your identity. It is one of the reasons that many people are leaving the traditional sense of the Christian church and now looking at our African roots and spirituality. It's some of the reasons that people are becoming Muslim or looking into Hebrew Israelite, because we understand that the manner in which our grounding took place within some of the traditional religion is based in white. So we are trying to take our own power back by revisiting and understanding what our identity is so that we can have a better grounding. Because with a bending, we have a better foundation in order to make that impact that we want to make.
And that is absolutely true. And thank you for that, Shanae. And I want to thank you, Nate and Keyon, everybody for their truth today. I really, really, really enjoyed the show. I think this is probably one of the best show that we've had. I'm really digging it. So, moving forward, we're excited to find out about the North Central Florida People Power Coalition that's coming on with Florida Forward, and we want to hear more. And we want to hear more about the special guest that you're having, House Florida Representative Angie Nixon. So, Shanae, why don't you fill us out on that and let us know why we all should be there?
Absolutely. So to let everyone know, so number one, we started a coalition and it's called Florida Forward. And the reason for this coalition is for us to run what's called a coordinated campaign. What we're realizing is we often get elected officials that we really don't want, and often they are the less of evils. And that's just the way, because of how politics have been structured in the past. So a person who is more grounded, who's more willing to be bold and do the work within our communities, typically can't get elected because we're always trying to go around the existing political structure and the existing political machine that is Alachua County. We've seen a great level of effectiveness by when we had Commissioner Gail Johnson on the City Commission, Commissioner Desmond Duncan Walker being elected. We had even Anna Prizia with Alachua County, Diane being elected to the school board alongside Tina Certain and Dr. McNeely. We saw Isha Solomon become the first Black property appraiser. We even got our first Black sheriff and those particular things. Even in some of our larger races, and even trying to turn Tallahassee with people that we say progressive, that's triggering these days because Alachua County is really not progressive. Their version of progressive is paper straws and getting rid of plastic bags, but people don't have housing and food. And I still haven't been able to understand how they live with that cognitive dissonance, but we'll get there at a particular time. So we created this coalition. And for us to be able to pick in candidates. So for example, like at a particular time that Tyra ran, it would be an opportunity, or Nate running, or other people running, where they're going to get the training, the level of supports and things that they need. I want to be clear that even in campaigns, a lot of new candidates, people get in their ears and they talk great. Typically, when people are talking great, they're talking great because they want to benefit from it. They want to be paid from it. So you often have candidates that are paying for media stuff they shouldn't be paid for, because there actually is a science to campaigning. They are paying for TV commercials when people don't even watch TV in traditional methods. They're paying for marketing that they actually don't have to pay for. Getting people to understand that the way that campaigns actually work, it's just word of mouth. It's community building. It's people standing together in order to take a stance. And that's whether to elect people, that's whether to change a policy, that's whether to push for whatever it is. So we get into this mindset, we do it alone. With our coalition, one component of it is running campaigns. The other part is voter engagement. Another part is voter participation. And another part is actually engaging people proactively. So like we're going to do some canvassing the end of this month. When we're doing canvassing, it's not for you to go and vote for a candidate because we don't have any candidates yet. It is to basically do a listening tour. What is going on in our community? What are the issues that speak to the residents of East Gainesville? We don't have to go and guess about this. We can be deliberate and build those relationships. Even when there's not a campaign going on, we still will be pounding the pavement and knocking on doors and making sure that we connect with people and literally meeting people where they are instead of just in the figurative manner to ensure that we're getting appropriate representation. When there are initiatives and call to actions that are coming, we want to be able to have people that are canvassers that work year round that are going knocking on doors and stating, hey, this is the initiative that's going on. Hey, this is the policy they're trying to push. I'm coming to knock on your door and explain it to you so that you can be engaged in a part of what's going on. Instead of us hearing people say, well, oh, we advertise it in a newspaper, although no one gets the paper. Or it was on Facebook, not realizing that sometimes we take breaks from social media. So there's a more deliberateness about that, but also to get candidates who are there to work for the people, not to maintain their position of power, not to only say I'm only here in order to be disconnected, but actually do good work and build up our communities. The way that we look at politics now is we look at election as a game changer, when really not. The greatest impact that we can ever make on our loved ones is in our local community. And ironically, that's the politics that we know the least about. So we want the opportunity to help. And it takes time. You can't learn everything that you need to learn just in an election season. And then there's election fatigue. So we want to be able to build a relationship with the people within our community by ensuring that we're a part of this community year round. So one the head of this, who came up with this, was Commissioner Johnson. So when people thought that she quit the commission as if she was walking away, it wasn't that she quit the commission and that she was walking away. Understood that with her and Desmond being outnumbered on that commission, that they need for East Gainesville as it relates to development and GRU and any of the other issues that we're having, we need to flip that commission to ensure that we have the majority of people who are aligned with our values and our goals and who can hold accountable for that. So she resigned to work on this particular coalition. And our goal in 2022 is we decide who's going to be the mayor, and we decide who's going to take those 3 empty commission seats. And we actually increase their level of success by running the candidates that we choose together. That means you don't have to be a person in order to be elected. You don't even have to be a person that diverse on the issue. You have to be a person that's already an activist, community organizer that's in this community doing this work. That's who needs to be sitting behind dais. That's how we bridge that gap and that particular disconnect. So what we're doing now is a launch party, and it's a Christmas party. So it's over at Heartwood Soundstage. It is a free event. If someone can actually get that address for Heartwood Soundstage, I'll get it for you in a moment. It's on Saturday, December the 11th from 6 until 8. We're naturally going to get the people who normally show up to these events. That's not who we're asking to come. We're asking for people who really are about difference. We're asking for people who don't know what they're just going to show up because they believe in what I believe in. They believe in what Tyra believes in. They believe in what Keyon believes in. They believe in what Gail believes in, because that's where it starts. We start to come together by where we are the same. And where we are the same is we see that something's wrong and we need to helpless about doing something about it. And I want us
Hartfield Insurance.
Huh?
Did you say Hartfield Insurance?
Oh no, Heartwood.
No,
Stage.
Heartwood Soundstage.
Yes. So I can just give people the address. So that's the first step. So we don't want you to feel overwhelmed with I don't know what I'm talking about or what's going on. A family-friendly event. We've reached to the schools that haven't gotten response. Teenagers. We need our teenagers, middle school and high school in the room. We need them in the space. We need them to know politics can be fun, but not only that, this is how you advocate and make things better in your life and the life of the people. And that's the reason that we want you there. Our keynote speaker is Representative Angie Nixon. She is out of Jacksonville, and she is phenomenal. I want people to go and look her up. Not because she's an elected official, because even after she got elected, she still does the work that propelled her into being an elected official. So although she is a House of Representatives, when things go on in Jacksonville, just like they had the young woman Diamonds Ford that was unjustly arrested, Representative Angie Nixon was out there at that rally with a baby in a stroller. She was places pregnant. She didn't allow anything that's going on, even getting married in the midst of all of this. She did not let the work stop for the impact of the people. She's still doing the food giveaways. She is still doing the whatever it is that she's advocating for. She's getting people together in order to learn how to get their nonprofit funded. She's working on projects, and those are the kind of elected officials that we need, who are going to bring the people in the community together in order to develop exactly what we need. She wrote the foreword for my book. I'm pretty sure anybody that's tuned in now know that I wrote a book. It is called "Yeah, I Said It, I Don't Give a Damn," and it's discussing disparities, allegiances, mindsets, and inwards. I've asked people to purchase that book because the proceeds for that book go into the work back into our community. But not only that, and I'm not saying it because I wrote the book, it will help to get you up to speed on where we need to be so that you can feel better equipped to get engaged. I kid you not, many of the things that I point out, you will be able to see. There's a glossary that's actually in the book. There's a checklist. There are so many things that you're going to be able to take from that book. You're going to be able to implement in your day-to-day life and be able to see it differently and be able to advocate for your loved ones in a much more effective manner. And that's it. So people always say, when they look at Representative Nixon, she is bold. You see Black girl magic that is unforeseen. And even her willingness, they were in session and different things like that to travel over to Gainesville. It shows how vested she is in our community and how vested we need to be. There will also be Anna Escamani, she has an event where she is, but she fully supports this. Anna Escamani was one of the people that I was hoping that would throw her hat in the ring for governor. At this time, she has decided not to, but for the state of Florida. She was the one that was pivotal in trying to get people their unemployment benefits when all of that was a chaotic mess. Then we have a mayor-elect out of St. Petersburg, Richie Floyd, also will be zooming in and actually giving words. The fact that we have people that are outside of our community that believe in what we're doing already, it speaks volumes and it speaks a lot, and we're really excited about that. But I'm asking, I'm imploring you as a call to action. It's a jeans and t-shirt type of event. That's what we're wearing. But we're asking you to come, bring your family, and learn what is actually happening. Help myself and Commissioner Johnson and other people that you'll see on this coalition help and make a difference in our communities. Also, educate the people in the communities. They felt because we rolled out this coalition is because I'm trying to run for office or Commissioner Johnson is trying to run for who's seated. Commissioner Johnson and I align so many things because what she does is not about her, it's about our people. And she put herself up there as a sacrificial lamb for us. City Commission, and we didn't support her in which we should. She was demeaned, she was talked down to, she was ignored, all because of being willing enough to be bold enough to fight and advocate for us. It is now time to come off of our couches. It is now time to come from behind our computers, and it is now time to show up. We need you all to understand showing up is not always work. You will be very surprised at the relationships that you will build and the connections that you will make if you start to show up to these things. Typically don't. And Nate said it best. He does not do politics. He don't trust the government like that. But I'm sure that he can show you that he can speak relationships that have been built. And I would like to speak to that. Keyon, I would like to speak to your experience and what you've learned by being on the Police Advisory Council and things that are valuable that you take and employ in other parts of life. Tyra, your personal with your actual work, but even things. I think we need to give people that want to get involved but don't even know where to get started, what this actually looks like.
Want to start first? I can start first. My experience in activism and being an advocate and working in the community is very personal. It came from personal experiences and things that I went through in my life, and it helped me those things helped me to understand that I wasn't the only one that was going through the things that I was going through. And I just had to keep wondering why. Why is this happening? Why are things like this? And so the more that I became involved in community, the more I was able to understand that there was a whole lot of people out there that were struggling with the same issues and asking the same questions that I was asking. Through my advocacy and through my activism, I've met a lot of people. I've met a host of people. I go places even now today, and people know who I am. And they start to talk to me about different things in the community and what they're going through and what they want to see and how they want to get involved. So you'd be surprised, you'll be surprised the conversation that you'll have with somebody. It could be a next door neighbor or somebody that you just see every day that you didn't even bother to talk to, that has that inside of them, that's willing, once they know that you have that, their willingness to talk to you and let you know, hey, I saw you the other day and I seen you speak and thank you for that. And I just want to tell you this. So I've met a lot of people, just on that note. With me running for office, that was an experience, but I did it more so because I really, really care about community. And I was like, look, somebody's going to have to stand up, somebody who was outside of the box. And I knew that I was outside of the box, but I did it in my heart because I really like politicians. Well, I really like people who put people first and put politics in the back. And, so that's what, that really, what that was my stance, when I was running for office. But I met a lot of good people. I met Chanae during that time at a lot of groups that I've given a lot of events, talking about things in the neighborhood. And I've met a lot of people. And so when you come out to these events, believe me, it will be the most enriching thing that you can ever do for yourself and I mean, it's just an experience that's out of it changed when I started going to events like this, community events where people can be empowered. It changed my life forever. The way I think about myself, the way I move, the way I pick a job, the way I pick a place to stay, signing an application, anything, what I watch on TV, it just, it just brightened up all my horizon. So please come out.
So are we basically like commenting on like basically how we feel about like activism, basically?
That's far as well. But even too, I want you to be able to share your experience on the Police Advisory Council. Like, what were some of the eye-opening moments? What are some of the things that you actually learned?
I mean,
I think a lot of times,
as far as with the Police Advisory Council, man, I'm gonna just be 100% honest. As far as what I learned with the council, man, it's a dog and pony show. Honestly, it's not really like as far as the council, like okay, yeah, you do got a little say. Like we discuss things, we review cases. Like I think as far as the council go, the only real benefit of the council is that the people in the community can bring stuff to the council. You know what I'm saying? And it's not something that can get swept under the rug. Whereas like if you talking to a police officer on the street and he won't make a report, if you actually reported that, we could request the body camera, we could request all the different type of stuff, and do a real investigation into something. Whereas most cities don't have something like that. Other than that, they not like how you were saying. You come and tell the police everything you want to talk about. They not listening. They're just there so they can say, "Hey, we talked to the council." That's it.
Right.
It's not enough for them to really take what the council gonna say or do as far as in it. But it's something that's not me saying that. Hey, don't engage in it at all, because it's something that at the end of the day, I'm looking at councils in other cities, and this is how they started out. But as more and more people engage with it, and more people start to do something, then those kind of like now it's councils in a certain city. They actually make the decisions on like they got the power to fire the chief. They got the power to fire, like they got the power to do those different type of things. And they started out as what this council is kind of like right now. It just take more people understanding what it is to give it the power. And like this council is just a council name. It's not a council they actually give power to. Whereas like in other communities, they actually have a police advisory board that has power, that can actually fire police officers, that can actually do different type of things like that, where, you know what I'm saying? So it's like building block. As far as for me, when it comes to to the activist thing, man. Like I'm on the tip of Nate when it comes to this whole government thing. When it comes to the political figure, I don't never see myself being like a political figure itself. My role in it is to be the one whereas I can say, hey, like I say, you want to be that example you want to be. So I would be one of the ones to say, hey, I want to go through, try to be more as a successful person in life, so I could take the person that want to be a political figure and help fund that or help do that or help push them in that direction, and let them take on something like that. But as far as like the government, like I just changed my registration to independent and all that. Like I can't get behind none of the stuff they do, because it's like when you kind of sit back and look at the political landscape and we look back at what it is, like they're gonna tell you what you want to hear. Like look at Joe Biden, man, he got 97% a black vote, like 97% of all black people that voted. He got 97% of our vote, and he signed something into law for every other community but the black community. That's just what it is. That's just what it come down to when you sit down and look at this Democrat Republican thing. It's like my mama said, you got to get your own candidates in there. So it's bump Democrat Republican, bump all the other stuff. It's a candidate that's in there to say, hey, I'm in here to do this agenda. I'm not worried about what this person doing or what that person doing. So you know what I'm saying? That's just my fight, and that's just something I fight for. It's just like we have to get to that point. Like that's the only way it's gonna change. Like us sitting here, like, and that's what we don't understand. A lot of our problems stem from mainstream media, mainstream news, a lot of stuff. Like you got is what I was talking about. I got a friend, my friend Brandon, and we was talking about. We was actually having a conversation about his dad. Like his dad is a middle-aged white man. But he get his news from where a lot of middle-aged white men get their news from, Fox News. But if we flip the whole thing, a lot of middle-aged women, black women, get their news from CNN. Whereas a lot, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of people go to these same sources to get their news from these same people, and they got their own warped view of how they looking at it in the first place. And that's how you go out and you look at society instead of actually going into the community and seeing that, hey, it like what my mom was saying, like they'll spin it and be like, oh, gun violence this, gun violence that, gun violence this. If you actually went around Gainesville, yes, there is a problem with the gun violence, but it's not like people around here just shooting up how they'll make it seem like, oh, people just around here shooting up the neighborhoods. It's going crazy. The black people, like, it's not like that. So we got to get to the point where we changing the narrative. We take control of how we being talked about. Like that's what this whole coalition. That's why I'm glad it's fun, because that's what that's about. You have to control that. If you don't control that, you don't control nothing. That's where we at. Where we at now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important to participate as a community in things that benefit the community, right? And one of the things that benefits this particular community and black people in this community is getting involved in local politics. Now, again, if Chanae and Ty and Gail were just only saying, you got to vote, voting is what's going to change things, right? Then I don't know if I'll be on loud conversations, right? But they're not saying that voting is what changes things. They're saying that voting is a part of what brings about change, on top of investing in development in the black community, on top of properly educating the black community, on top of giving us knowledge of self and empowering us in the different facets of life that we need in order to meet Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? In order for us to feed ourselves, in order for us to get that land, bread, and water that the Panthers talked about. For me, getting involved in politics um, affords you some opportunities to learn from brilliant people. It gives you a different perspective and a way of looking at how you're going to approach life and how people that you love will approach life. I think, again, getting involved in politics in Gainesville is important because we are in a unique situation where we have several people in leadership positions who not only care about the community, but are active in the community and knowledgeable about what the community needs. And on top of that, are actually doing the things to bring about what the community needs. Right. And so we hear again, is such a unique thing. But I think we have, as Keyon said, the opportunity to be the example that others want to see, right? And it really starts like this, right? Like it starts with us coming together and showing in a place like Gainesville that's not too big, not so small, right? That has a plethora of talent, um, history, right? Like there are things that we've been doing in this community as Black people, right? In all realms of life. So whether that be politics, education, sports, whatever the case may be, this is a very talented area and a very powerful area spiritually and metaphysically, right? The things that we've been able to accomplish in generations. And like I said, with the level of racism and the level of anti-blackness that has existed in this area, it's sometimes unbelievable what we've done. But I think right now, um, is a pivotal time to really get involved. I actually met Angie Nixon um, on some cultural stuff that was outside of politics, right? So anybody that kind of knows me or is familiar with my work knows how important Juneteenth is for me. So I actually came across Angie because she's I guess she created the Melanin Market, which is like a cultural organization in Jacksonville, and they host like a huge Juneteenth event. I forget the boulevard in Jacksonville. It was like a big boulevard that goes through the Black neighborhood. They block it off, and it's like a very impactful thing. And so I was actually um, able to hear about her, to learn about her agenda, and meet some of the people who were really sort of pushing pushing behind her. And it's so interesting, right? Because I know some people in Duval who are doing some activist work, right? And I know some people in Gainesville who are doing some activist work. So I'm having these personal conversations, and I'm like, "Yo, you should meet this person. You should meet this person. Yo, y'all got to connect." And then it's like a couple of weeks later, this person's calling me like, "Yo, I just talked to Chanae. We about to do this. I just talked to this person." And for me, I've always had this vision that like of sort of bringing the cultures of Gainesville and Jacksonville together to unite, because I think there's so many similarities, right? And the powers that be work so hard to control this particular area. So not just political institutions, but even social religious institutions like First Baptist Church, right? They got a lot of power in this particular area. So I think there are some real commonalities that we have, our experiences with the sheriff's office and police departments, and then there are some things that are happening politically and economically where you see people in power doing things like the investment that's taking place on 301, the things that they're doing to actually connect these two places. And so I think it's just right on time that you have, the leadership in Gainesville connecting with organizations and leadership in Jacksonville to really bring about unity and make a difference in this community, because the power and the strength is in numbers. And we have so many people who are knowledgeable and have some true power, because the power really belongs to the people, right? And I think that's what they know, and this is why they work so hard to get in government and to remain in government. And so I think if we follow in the footsteps of Gail and Chanae and those who are organizing this coalition, and just play our roles and be a part of it in whatever way we can, uh I think that we're doing ourselves, our family, our community, and the generations to come a great service. Because if we can empower them and we can give them this knowledge, right, then that's only going to transcend different generations. So I'm excited. Actually, I'll be out of town on Saturday, so I'll make sure that I have somebody there to represent me and represent the energy. But I would definitely implore everybody to come and be a part of this event. Also, the Gainesville Gala 2021 is taking place on December 30th. That's going to be a fundraising event to benefit UF Health. as well as the Cotton Club Cultural Museum, Cotton Club Museum and Cultural Center. Um, that's going to be a really dope event. So it'll be the traditional experience of a gala, great food, great music, black tie event, but we're doing some things with cryptocurrency. My man, Big J and the team, I'm talking about this developing, as a team of people of color who have developed a particular coin. This coin is legit. It's a utility coin, and everybody will get to learn a little bit more about that. They're going to be unveiling that. But you, especially, we gotta get ahead of this technology. We got because this is the thing that's going to empower us, y'all. This is the thing that is going to reset the balance, right? So if we talk about dismantling systems, right, this system is already dismantling systems. Financial institutions are trying to catch up to this. They're investing in it right now and presenting these theories and ideas to get us to think twice about it as they continue to buy up the coin and try to create different coins, right? But the blockchain technology, and particularly University of Florida and what they're doing, we got to get Black people connected to what's happening, and we got to get the youth involved in this because I'll be honest with you, if we have the opportunity, if gangsters got the opportunity to learn about this crypto, to get involved in crypto mining, right? This is that's the money, right? That's the money, and obviously we don't want that to be the main motivation. But a lot of the times, as Ty always says, right, these kids don't have opportunities and resources, and here's an opportunity. Um, to get them involved, to get them to learn something new, right, and to be innovative. So I want y'all to check that out. You got the links available. Reach out to me, nscourtneyjr@gmail.com. I got tickets on deck. You can also get the tickets at viprevents.com. But reach out, man. I think it's going to be a very impactful event. It's also honoring, that's the main, I'm sorry, it's honoring Gainesville community members who have been really active in doing this work. So Chanae's on there. A lot of people who are just really getting the work done. So we want to acknowledge those people. We want to have a good time, and we want to share this information. And it's right on time, right? We're also hosting an Ujama event and that same night is the cooperative economics night. So it'll be streaming as this event is taking place, but it's just right on time with everything that we're discussing. Um, so I would just say, like, my last words would just be for everybody to just listen and learn, share your ideas with others, right? Don't be afraid to voice your opinion, but have open ears, have an open mind, and be willing to learn as much as possible, and then try to impart the knowledge that you acquire to other people, and then let's act on that. Like, let's really write our plans down. Let's really write our goals down. Let's really be intentional about the words that we speak. Right, life and death is in the power of the tongue. We got to start speaking in ways that empower ourselves, and manifestation is the key. And it's gonna be this young generation, you indigo children, who I don't know, man. These kids I teach, man, I'm talking about they speak in a way where it's just like that things are going to happen. Right. I'm watching these kids create, I'm watching these kids code, I'm watching these kids manifest things. It's just like, the power that they have is awesome, and it's gonna be exponentially even greater when we impart knowledge that we have into them. And so I'm actually, while sometimes the world can feel discouraging, I'm excited about the potential and the possibility that we have for this bright new future, because like we really have the opportunity to create freedom for ourselves, right? Because we are free. That's one thing I've been realizing too. I've had these revelations, right? Like a lot of I call it the old world, right? Like the world that I grew up in this is not that world. This is really not that world. And right, like we have learned in this age of information that racism is not real, right? That shit used to feel real it used to feel like it is very stifling, and the system is real. But now what I've come to learn is that can't stop us. Like nothing can stop Black people, right? Like nothing can really stop us. It can hinder us, it can temporarily prevent us, but the only thing that can stop us is death and destruction, and they can't do that. They've been trying to do that, but you can't destroy. You can't destroy the very essence and the very element that makes up the universe. This right here makes up the universe. This is the same element that makes up the majority of the matter in the universe. And so when you understand who you are, when you understand that you are really created in this image, literally, because you got that stuff
Nate, we get
that is
a
cosmic,
lot of feedback there.
we can't be beat. So let's connect. Let's do everything that we need to in all realms of reality and society to make it better for each other. But we really do have the power. So I appreciate y'all. Love y'all.
Nate, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, it was a lot of feedback. Okay, I think that's better. Keyon.
Sorry.
Hello? Hello?
Mhm.
You sound like Mo.
Yes.
It might be you, Chanae.
Oh, okay. But I was just gonna say, as far as like what you was talking about with the kids, man, like me and my mom was actually just debating this like a few weeks ago. And I was trying to tell her because I feel like it's been quick, like this whole like even from when I was in middle school to like high school to elementary school, like it's nowadays the amount of access, like even for like a kid, like back in the day, like it was what mama said. Now you can't tell a kid nothing. They're gonna go Google it, they're gonna go YouTube it, they're gonna go do everything like under the book. Like you can the information you got at your tips, the opportunities you got at your fingertips now, like the even just like innovation, like the way everything is just coming, like us as Black people, we are able to take part in all of that. You know what I'm saying? It's just on us what we do with it. So I like it was crazy because she was like, it ain't that much. I'm like, man, I feel like the times then changed, like even to the point now where it's just like, yeah, it was kind of like this when I was coming up a little bit, but like where it's at now, like just the information and everything that's just available right now is way different now. Like you got so much as a child at your fingertips that I feel like just wasn't available even 5-10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Can y'all hear me?
Technology is technology is different now. So the culture that everybody is growing up in, the youth's cognitive skills are like 100% better than it was when you was 2 or 3 years old. So most definitely, the world seems different. These children nowadays, they are very smart. They are much wiser. But they are weaker when it comes to certain temptations, because they don't know how to really deal with their emotions and their feelings as well as they know how to deal with technology and books and all those kind of things. So it's different. But as Chanae was touching on earlier, and me and Chanae has always talked about this, it's time for us to start being transparent with young people, so that they will be able to feel welcome to any table that they stumble upon, walk in front of, sit at, or even if it's a place there for them or not, that they'll be able to walk up to that table and say, here I am. We need to start listening to them, because the world is changing. And somebody who is 16 years old don't want the same thing that I want. And somebody who's 25 years old don't want the same thing that a 60-year-old want. We want the basic common thing, but the world is changing. So the way that they see their lives and the way that they see their future lives is different. And I think it's time for us to help to start, participating and helping them shape that. What does that look like? Help them build the blueprint. So when they get, what does this look like for you? So I that's very important. Yep.
So I'm glad perfect segue into the point that I wanted. Number one, I think we're double booked on the 30th because I actually am helping to co-host a Kwanzaa event. The one that we chose is Purpose, which is Nia, and that's actually about village building and collective building. Sure, I'm trying to figure out the best way to get a calendar of events out, and that's one of the reasons able to connect with me. So we'll be able to send out those reminders. I would like for us to divide and conquer. So some attend the event that I'll have is more family oriented and family related. And for some of us in our community to in cooperative economics, we come back together from all the things that we gather from Kwanzaa, and then we develop something that actually can be done. I think there's value in that. Also, when we talk about leadership development, that starts from the womb. And that's when they are babies, and that starts when they're 2 and 3 years old and developing their grounding and their sense of identity. I think it might have been yesterday or maybe the day before I shared our house rules. And what made me share it is I was happy to speak to someone who don't understand that it's a journey parenting children. Trust me, look, Keyon and I can give you a whole on things that were implemented, but one of the things that was pivotal to me in parenting was teaching character above all else. So our family rules were more about honesty, more about not tearing each other down. So that became normal and common. So even as we migrate through the world, things that frustrate my children the most are people who lack and don't do the right thing, are people who don't tell the truth. Like Keyon is very, very easygoing. The way to set him off is to be a liar. The way to set him off is to meet his character and lie on that particular person. And so that's all a part of leadership development. We have to equip our children to be leaders by seeing them as leaders. Kids innately like leadership. So when they get to be the leader, when they get to hold the teacher's papers, when they get to help grade papers. And so we can be very deliberate. Number one, in school, even in the manner in which we do things within the household. My children did come up in the household, but the manner in which we did things was not kids were a burden. We were a team. So there were things that we all did together as a team. So there was a sense of pride in some of the responsibility and things that were done. And even my son, he's realized he didn't have nearly the responsibility as a lot of his friends, but even with the responsibility that he came, was punishment or if it was punitive, we were a team that were actually working together. And we need to take that same thing within our community. We must be a team that is working together. And so that means holding each other accountable, holding each other capable, and being that when that's the ooh child, I don't feel like going, but I'm gonna need you to get there. What's going on with your child? When we get back to that, it gives our children belonging. It gives our children a sense of importance so that they can realize exactly who they are. I love the work that kids at UF are doing, but there are kids who will never make it into UF. And part of that is systemic, but then part of their interest. There's many kids that look like us that are at UF that don't have a sense of belonging. They're not happy there. And so us being able to understand the importance of that, understand the value of going to an HBCU and culture, to understand the importance of some kids in college, but they can still be valued and feel like the members within our community and whatever their gift is, because we all have gifts, that those gifts are not seen, but that they're recognized and that people appreciate them, because that's the light that they pour into. And I think we have a great opportunity to be able to do that. But the first thing is, even as we're having this conversation, learn and listen, and to be very deliberate, being proactive. So these are people that are tuning in for parents. One of the things I want parents to do is be more deliberate about going to the school. But like how we are all very excited happening in Louisiana, where those fathers and sons coming together, there's not a reason to be able to do that here. We have people working on the initiative for us to start to be celebrated at the point on the week in a very positive manner, not punitive, but to have adults that are actually on site. We're working to get parents together to create groups or parent groups or whatever it is that are with it, that are actually in the school. So mentoring should just be mentors that are doctors, bank managers, people that are amongst us, they give a great level of importance. Many of the children that I advocate for, they don't even know what my commercials are. They know I'm somebody that shows up. They know I'm somebody that can relate to the music that they listen to. I can relate to the going on. And even if I'm cursing or something like judging, and when I am talking to them, because y'all know, but about language, showing them the appropriateness and when things actually happen. And so they feel as if they actually matter. And that's how we can change a lot of these things. Also, we need some that are not fearful. I'm not scared to go by the store. We need more of us that are boots on the ground, that are not people that work for the city of Gainesville, not people that work for the police department. That's what our community needs. As we get ready to go to read comments, I want people to know the initiatives that are out there. Trust. The Children's Trust has been a thorn, my bony side, but I'm fluffy. So there are thorns. Um, and there's so much. I would ask you to go look at previous videos, asking you to show up on Monday. I will get emails and things like that out for you to see email. We must be deliberate. Habitat for Humanity. We did a live to let you know what those issues are. Many other homeowners have come forward. We've sent multiple emails and things like that. There's been no response from local Habitat, from Habitat at state level or national level. That's not okay. Habitat should not be in a community if they're okay with practices that are actually happening in this community and have refused. And they also have been as related to a previous employee that's done phenomenal work for them. Additionally, I see there's a hot mess. Thing we can do now is support Commissioner Duncan Walker as much as possible, and we need to what's going on, and we need to make our voices heard. Number one, at the election on the special election runoff on July 25th, 2022. But when it comes to the general and the primary elections in August and November of 2022, we need to show up as a block of votes. We need you and we charge you to come to our line event on the 11th. Additionally, we got issues. There are things as it relates to our jail. Our jail needs it all, but it can't be waiting on to do so many things because there's too much that needs to be done. With me, one of the things I'm doing now is rolling out an activist training curriculum so that you can learn, you can get the history, so that you do feel equipped. Some of the smaller call to action, so that will a good personality test. So you can figure out what your personality is, what your love language is, how you can communicate. That's most effective in this work and be able to maintain good balance. Additionally, GRU is a bone and is a thorn in our side. While we can impact GRU rates directly, we can impact GRU policy. And there's a called energy justice. And so that is protecting the environment, but also reducing utility bills. We got to come to the table and learn about this stuff because GRU is something that directly impacts you and it's something about. And then the final thing, youth development, they go hand in hand. We got to be creative, be able to pull that leadership potential and those goals and things of our children in a very collaborative way. And we all feel that way. I'm often and what I have to say is not valued. We see it all. So even though we still even though I do with my work is not valued within my community. It's Florida Atlantic University. It's valued with University of Pennsylvania. It's valued University of Washington. And that is because our people in positions of power want to maintain those power structures. And in order for us to create the change that we need to make them uncomfortable. And so I say that to say not to toot my own horn, but because I have a proven track record doing what's right. And all people in so what's right when it's uncomfortable. If our elected officials keep stating that one is essential of why it work so hard at Chanae Johnson? Why is it that the people who are not to go along with the status quo, not that are being at the forefront at the tables? Why are we being given the resources? One of the things I'm currently working on now is I have someone helping me to do a fundraising campaign. Much of the work I do out of my pocket. Right now, I'm paying $2,000 to a grant for Duval Community School for community. That should not be a given, and we have to come to the together to save Duval the space that's our space. People have the opportunity. We want to donate we want to have the opportunity. I asked us so that you know what's going on, and it reduces some of the work that you need to do in order to find out what's going on. So we're going to the comments because we do want your voices to be heard.
Wait, hold on real quick before you get to that. Can I say something? Because my computer about to die. So,
yes.
I don't want it to die before I finish because it's connected to what you was just saying. As far as we go on the gun violence with the youth, man, like I feel like something that really need to be talked. I know we talk about the music, But it's not necessarily the music. What I'm saying, what I see with it, it's the lifestyle associated with it. So you got to understand, like a lot of these kids coming up, they don't have nothing. So when they see the only black people they see is the people with, the diamond chain. They got all the wise money. They got all this. But with a lot of these kids not even understanding about that, these people not even all that wise cash. You see all that money. That's not really money they making. The type of money they make, and they do got like them clothes and stuff like that. But they got that off a job. They probably make $100,000. That's something you can do. Like that's something that's easily attainable, and we don't see that side of it. You know what I'm saying? We don't understand that. Hey, I could go out here and be a truck driver. Hey, I could go out here and be a welder. I could go out here and be a plumber and make that type of money and live that same lifestyle I want to live. You know what I'm saying? And have all the things I want and do all the things I want to do, travel the world, do all this different type of stuff. That's just something they don't see. And I feel like that's something that's not talked about enough where it's like, okay, look, if you want to live this lifestyle, it's not obtainable. You don't have to be a gangster. You don't have to sell drugs to do it. You don't have to be doing all that to do it though. You can literally go out here, get a regular 9 to 5 trade or whatever, and you could be living the same exact life, doing the same exact stuff they doing. And that's where it came back where I was saying somebody like me, you got to be that example to show them like, hey, look, I'm 22, 23 years old. I got dreads. I do the same thing you do. I like to go play basketball, like playing on the game. I like doing the same thing you like to do. But I'm out here. I'm getting to it. I'm doing this. And I got the same stuff they got.
Without a lot of the fear and what violence and a lot of the trauma that comes with that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
So we have Shannon who says we always try to build bridges to palace communities on quicksand. Oh, that was pivotal. Miss says, love y'all. Keep the struggle moving forward. Out Facebook, Mama's Club page to get full Kwanzaa events. They are not taking questions. They want to control the questions. Be written and sent to master tools to free us. I'm inspired because I live in Porter's Quarters and our folks are rising up. Love y'all. And then she says, and that's at December the 13th at 3 p.m. Says, come on with it, teach it. Tony Francis Miller says, we as Black people have to learn to stick together and stop hating on each other. I believe in the each one. Alicia says, lack knowledge. And Queen Pressure Pay It Forward says, exactly. And Queen Pressure Pay It Forward says, kids are listening and they have great ideas. I know I talk to them. She also says, not to mention they removed detectives from cases that the community is comfortable talking to, and that is very true. Queen Pressure Pay It Forward also says history repeats itself, and yes, the kids say that. Ray Moore says white people as a whole have never saved us. Oh, hold on.
My bad. Can I point out one thing that's really relevant to the detective comment? I had a meeting one time. I'll say it really quick. I had a meeting one time. It was hosted by Jerome from Raw Recruits, who's really involved in sports in North Central Florida. And it was a meeting with some football players, people, kids of color, and police officers of color in Gainesville, right? And the idea was to, just to have open dialogue and get engaged. And, I approached it with an open mind. And I know a couple of officers who I speak to pretty cool with, for whatever that means. And I realized I'm looking around, right? I'm looking at all these Black people who are kind of making me have a small change of heart, so to speak, about my ideas about cops in general and even Black people being cops. And then I said, yo, all of these people are school resource officers. All the Black people that could potentially have good relationships and a good rapport in the Black community are the school resource officers where we really don't need to have police, right? And I'm like, yo, this is what they doing to us, man. And so that hit home to me because I really wanted to point that out. And I'm like, yo, it was like 10, 11, 12 potentially good cops, right? People who kind of, right, who got the demeanor, the rapport. They look like they kind of grew up. How a lot of these kids grew up, like you could potentially understand and they could have a real impact. When I'm like, yo, every single one of them was a resource officer. They ain't in the hood patrolling and engaging. They in the schools. And so it's like, then it made me think, oh, they doing that on purpose too, right? Because they know what they trying to do. And if these dudes was in the community, we might see something. So I just wanted to point that out. I wanted to put that out there in the world. So that
Absolutely, it's by design.
that.
So then Raven says white people as a whole have never saved us. It's all orchestrated against us. And that's why nothing has been done on the east side of Gainesville. My next project is to buy a second house, maybe as a rental, this time on the east side. We have many long-standing Black Gainesville Old Guard natives that allow allies, people to get organizations and coalitions that stop progress. We would build solutions to stop the slow destruction of our communities. We'll set Chanae in time. The race says the Alachua County regressives about everything except race. They are still in this white supremacy mode. They want your Black vote and for Black people to be cheerleaders for the causes that don't help you. Remember, they never want you to have a leadership position. That is very true. And then Ray says, "Oh, then it says just we'll do it by tuning in." Then I gave a lot of event information, so that's in the comments, so people can go back and actually refer to it and have it. And then Ray says it's fear-mongering mentality when it comes to showing a narrative about Black people. And then he says, "Man, I hate to miss this event." Oh, just stating that he'll be at. And Aaliyah Cohen says, "The youth organizers on the food justice and UF campaign bring me hope. The youth got it. I'm learning so much from them." Leah, I can agree with that. And then Rachel let me know that I was cutting out. And then Rachel says, "But you're not going to make the same wage because you have a brown skin or you're a woman." And she is absolutely correct. So me and Nate do have different days. So cooperative economics is December 31st, and ours is December 30th.
Sorry. Gotcha.
Okay. Have me worried.
I misspoke. I'm sorry.
I've just put up my website. That's the easiest way to connect. Ideally, is I want you to connect with me because the responsibility is mine to send that information with our weekly emails and then also with text messages. Also, because we're often putting out fires, it's easy enough in order to get the information out if you connect with me by text message or email. We appreciate you all for tuning in with us for this hour and 45 minutes. We've covered so much. There are things that we will break down. We hope that you take the opportunity to actually listen to this in portions if you're not tuned in and to share it with others. Are there any closing sentiments or anything that you say before we sign off?
No, we just want to let the people know that we'll be back. We'll be back, and we're going to have more loud conversations. So,
and remember, man, I gotta remember, you gotta be the change you want to be, man. Like, you gotta remember that, like, you know, that's just something, you know, I feel like that can stick with people. That's what keep me going now, bro. Like, when you wake up every day, just remember you gotta be that change you want to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would just say, stay focused, encourage your kids to read. Fannie Lou Hamer, Oughta Be Wells, tap into that energy. Ella Baker, I think that's the sort of spirit that we're in. So we just got to tap into that. Peace and love, y'all.
Okay, that was Fannie Lou, Oughta Be, and what was the third?
Ella Baker.
Ella Baker.
I should know that because that's the energy I tap into.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the In My Feelings girl?
No.
Ain't that the girl that's saying the song?
These are activists from history. No.
Yeah,
so they're the ones that do a lot of the behind the
scenes influencing the youth.
Mm-hmm. And Tyra, what's your closing sentiment?
I confuse her with like Ella Ma or something like that.
Yeah, no.
I'm like, who that?
Oh my God, youth is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
And Tyra,
look, because I'm trying to figure out that I'm trying to figure out how you go from Fannie Lou Hamer and Oughta Be Wells to the
girl. Okay, I just want to say, just get involved. Don't be afraid. Stand up. Speak out. Always stand up tall. Always.
Your sentiment too long. I can't type all that.
Just be.
I'm gonna say, get involved. Stand up.
Be unapologetic. No fear. Stand up. How about that?
Okay, speak out. Hold on. I'm trying to get it. And I'm on my laptop, not my actual computer, so I'm slow.
Just be unapologetic. Stand up. with no fear.
Okay.
Hey,
And I don't have any sentiments. I've said enough. Just show up. That's all I got.
okay. Put that
All
on
right.
there. Show
Ladies.
up, everybody, December 11th at the Heartwood Sound Stage at 6 o'clock. Be
And
there.
text y'all people.
I won't be there. I'm gonna text my people. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town. You know, my grandsons made it to the state championship. I knew one of the games when I told them if they won, if they got to the championship, I would go. So I have to. So, but I will be sending some people. I did put out a note, a calendar on my property to let the people know that that's going on. So hopefully, you know, we'll get a lot of people there. Okay.
That's awesome. Well, good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good
Thank you
night.
for coming.
Peace and love, y'all.